art. It was late at night in the quiet, gleaming corridors of a downtown office building. The world outside had gone to sleep, but inside, one man was still at work. A janitor, a single father doing everything he could to provide for his little girl. His hands were rough from years of scrubbing floors, yet his heart was full of quiet determination. He wasn't just cleaning offices. He was fighting for a better tomorrow. That night, as he moved from one desk to another, he noticed the CEO's office light still on. She was buried in paperwork, eyes fixed on her glowing laptop screen. He hesitated before stepping inside, careful not to disturb her. What neither of them knew was that this ordinary moment, a janitor doing his job and a CEO lost in hers, was about to become the beginning of something extraordinary. As he reached to wipe the edge of her desk, his sleeve brushed against a half-full glass of water. In an instant, it tipped over, spilling directly onto the CEO's open laptop. Time seemed to freeze. The soft hum of the computers was replaced by the sharp hiss of water hitting electronics. The janitor's heart sank. This was it, the mistake that could cost him everything. He stammered apologies, his hands trembling as he tried to dab the keys with his rag. But the damage was done. The CEO shot up from her chair, eyes wide with disbelief and anger. For a moment, their worlds, so far apart, collided in silence. He saw not just a boss, but a woman whose patience had been tested. She saw not just a janitor, but a man who looked utterly broken. That fragile silence hung heavy, right before everything changed. As the CEO carefully lifted the dripping laptop, frustration still written across her face, she noticed the faint glow of the screen, struggling to stay alive. Just before it went black, a spreadsheet flickered open, but it wasn't company data or cleaning schedules. Her eyes narrowed as she realized what she was looking at: plans, figures, and proposals that mirrored the company's own projects, but with improvements she hadn't seen before. She paused, confused. The formatting, the calculations, they were precise, professional, even visionary. She turned to the janitor, who stood there speechless, eyes wide, unsure whether to explain or stay quiet. The silence spoke louder than any excuse he could offer. In that moment, her irritation faded into curiosity. Who was this man, really? What was he doing creating something like this, after hours, in secret? The question lingered, reshaping everything she thought she knew. When she finally asked him about the file, his voice trembled as he explained. During his breaks, he had been studying online, trying to learn data analysis so he could someday earn enough to give his daughter a better life. Those documents were his practice, his dream taking shape after midnight, long after everyone else had gone home. The CEO listened, the sharp edge in her expression softening with every word. She realized this wasn't a man overstepping his job. This was someone refusing to give up on himself. His notes, his models, his attention to detail, they weren't just impressive, they were brilliant. She saw potential where she once saw a mistake, and respect began to replace anger. In that quiet office, something shifted. For the first time, she wasn't just looking at her janitor, she was looking at hidden talent waiting to be seen. As the weight of the moment settled in, the CEO found herself reflecting on how easy it is to overlook people, to see uniforms instead of stories, job titles instead of dreams. She realized how often the world builds walls between positions, creating invisible lines that separate us from them. Yet standing before her was living proof that talent, intelligence, and determination don't belong to any one level of society. The janitor didn't have an office or a title, but he had vision, the kind of insight that can't be taught, only earned through persistence and hunger for change. It made her question how many others, just like him, were quietly hiding brilliance behind modest jobs. That night, she understood that true leadership isn't about status. It's about seeing potential where others see none. And sometimes, the greatest discoveries come from the most unexpected places. The next morning, the CEO called him into her office. He walked in nervously, expecting a dismissal letter, but instead found her standing by the window with a quiet smile. She told him she had reviewed the files he'd created, and she was impressed. Rather than scolding him, she offered him an opportunity, a position in the data department, where his ideas could finally take shape. The janitor could hardly speak. For a moment, all he could think about was how proud his daughter would be. It wasn't just a promotion, it was a second chance at life. The CEO, too, felt changed. She realized that leadership wasn't just about running a company. It was about lifting others. From that day on, their story became a reminder to everyone who heard it, that one accident, one act of understanding, can transform to lives forever.